Small Practice Support information session number 44. In this Law Society of Ireland recording, Colin Walsh of CDC Telecom talks to Justin Purcell about managing your office telecoms.
We are all very welcome today to Small Practice Information Session 44, Managing Your Office Telecoms, and what is VoIP and what are the opportunities in the legal sector. I'm here with Colin Walsh from CDC Telecom, who's over 20 years experience running his own business in this area and is an electronics engineer. And today we're hoping to just get a bit of a background, understand some of the terminology, understand from a legal practice some of the issues that are faced in a small office, and then how going forward could we implement some of these changes and what to look out for. So Colin, you're very welcome. Delighted to have you along today. So I'll stop sharing my screen now. And if anybody has a question, you can stick it up on the chat and we'll take it as we go. So we're not going to have, so that'll be perfect. Thank you. So Colin.
Great. Hi, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. As Justin said, my name is Colin Walsh. I work here with the team of engineers in CDC Telecom, and we've been providing, I guess, practical solutions and advice in telecoms and data infrastructure to our customers for, in excess of 25 years now. As we were previously saying there a few minutes ago, to put that into context, I would have been installing and programming the Aircell mobile phone bricks many moons ago. Following on from that, as it transpired, then we became accredited partners or tier 1 partners with Siemens and Avaya, Broadlink, and Panasonic phone systems, and more recently then have added the Alcatel-Lucent and Rainbow to our portfolio. So I suppose we have seen business requirements change from when there was no such thing as broadband, and the fax machine was the holy grail. From then to the current strange times that we have now, where remote and broadband is everything. I guess as we're generically known as CDC Voice and Data Solutions, I'll try and use that to explain what we do briefly. So beginning with the latter, the data side, we have our data teams, and what they do then is they will cable buildings, terminate and certify category 6, category 7 cable into comms rooms, and then fiber optic cable, then linking buildings and obviously comms rooms as well. So that provides then the infrastructure for any building, any office to be able to use computers, use phones, and so on and so forth. And this can range up from 20 cables up to nearly 2,000 cables, which kind of brings us then to the telecom side. But what I would like to do maybe is, if we go through some of the terminology first, as that'll help us going forward. Now, as we said earlier, I'm an engineer, so I may not explain all of this correctly. So feel free to stop me if you have a query or I'm getting too technical, or pass it on at the end of the session, or by all means contact Justin with it, and we'd be delighted to try and help out. But some of the main terms that are currently being used now are VoIP and cloud and hosted, and there are multiple terms, and they commonly refer to the same thing. So VoIP, or voice over IP, is basically like WhatsApp. We've all used WhatsApp on our phones, and it's just the ability to be able to speak or have a video conversation, similar to what we're doing now. The next one we said cloud. Cloud generally refers to the internet, and hosted would be, you'd be familiar with, say, a virtual server. In our instance, it would be a virtual PBX. So it's a phone system that's software based, that there's no physical equipment in it. The phone systems then themselves are referred to as a PBX, which is, it's the telephone system, or the brains, what's usually if it's within your business, it's what's screwed onto the wall. Now, a phone system can be on-site or off-site or hosted, as we call it. So going forward, we'll try and refer to it as your traditional phone system being on-site, that's in your comms room or in the cupboard or under the stairs or wherever it's located, and hosted being the virtual phone system that sits in the internet or on the cloud. All are now connected with broadband. And the broadband one, I'm just going to go into a little bit more detail on, because there's a lot of confusion sometimes with that. So nowadays you'll have all the different service providers, Air, 3, Vodafone, Virgin, etc., etc., etc. And they'll all say that you're getting fiber broadband. So fiber would be, it's been used as a marketing tool. So generally, fiber, if you have it coming into your premises, the best is to get true fiber, which comes into the premises. So that's a fiber optic cable coming into your business or your home. They will refer to it as FTTB, fiber to the business, or fiber to the home, FTTH, or I think fiber to the premises, FTTP. The other version of it is, and what we are most commonly used to using, is fiber broadband, which would have given us speeds of, say, originally a maximum of about 24 meg, and then that upped to about 100 meg. The way that worked is we all had standard phone lines coming into our offices, which were just 2 copper wires. And if that was coming from the exchange and coming to your premises, and you were, let's just say, 3 kilometers away, whereas it might have been 100 meg coming into the exchange, but by the time it gets to your office, the speed of it reduces, and it reduces through distance or resistance, as it's known. A bit like a garden hose, really. The longer the hose, the less pressure there's on it. So they came up with this idea that, okay, instead of bringing the fiber directly into the exchange, let's bring the fiber and put it in a cabinet. Well, let's say outside a main street or a industrial estate. So when the fiber then came into that cabinet, now it was only traveling maybe 300 meters or 500 meters. So suddenly all our broadband speeds went from an average of about 12 or 15 meg. Suddenly we were all averaging 50, 60 meg, which is more than sufficient. That fiber is known as an FTTC, fiber to the cabinet, which is one of those green cabinets that you see on the side of roads or along the street. And you usually see the air or open air K&N engineers working on. So if your broadband is coming from one of those, fiber to the cabinet or FTTC, yeah, it's fine. If you have the option of being able to get a true fiber optic cable that's ran into the premises, which will give you speeds then of anything from 150 meg to 1000 meg, get it, grab it with both hands. It is as cost effective as the previous one, and actually far more reliable. 3 other terms: soft phone, an app, and an IP phone. A soft phone is just literally a piece of software that's downloaded onto a computer, which allows you then to be able to use a virtual phone on a computer. An app, which we're familiar with, is an app that you download usually onto your mobile phone. And again, that does the same thing. It allows you to use it similar to WhatsApp. And these will all connect to your telephone system of sorts. An IP phone is just a phone on your desk. It requires a network connection or a broadband connection. And instead of using copper wires within your building, the old generic ones, it just uses the network cables. The two advantages of an IP phone is, one, you are able to move it around your office. So if you're at your desk, you can unplug it, move to another room, and it still has the same extension number. So if you're extension 123, you still have 123 in the adjacent room. Similarly, you can actually bring that home, and then you plug it into your own broadband. And whether your home is Dublin or Dubai, it makes no difference. The phone still works once it's connected to an IP phone system. One of the features on phones that cause a lot of confusion is they say, oh, this phone has pass-through. What is pass-through? It means that if you have your computer plugged into a network socket on the wall or maybe on the floor, and the other end of it is plugged into your PC, you are able to plug that connection into your phone, and then another lead comes out of your phone and goes into your computer. So the broadband passes through the phone. So it means that if you've only one connection in an office, you can put an IP phone and a computer all on the same connection. So I suppose if we go back to the telecoms, if we maybe look at a practical example and try and use that as a template so that we all have something familiar to refer to. A typical office might have something between 3 and 8 persons, possibly has 2 ISDN lines, and 2 ISDN lines will allow 4 simultaneous calls. So on a lot of phones, you'll have lines 1, 2, 3, and 4, or call 1, 2, 3, and 4. So with that in mind, I'm going to try and bounce over and back and refer to that as we go forward. So what options are available to you? So you have basically with a phone system, you have on-site, which is your traditional phone system, as we said, in the comms room or under the stairs or in the press or somewhere. And then we have hosted, which is the off-site version, or cloud, as it's known as. Excuse me. So if we start maybe with the hosted, because that is the more prevalent one, because of the last year and all of the issues that COVID has presented us, and multiple businesses trying to move out and work remotely and so forth, hosted has become the platform that has generated the most questions. So a hosted system, first and foremost, requires broadband. Your broadband must be fit for purpose. So if you look at it, that you must use a minimum of, say, 10 meg down and 5 meg up. If you don't have that, do not try and go with hosted. It will break your heart. As regards capacity or users or phones on desks, you can have anything from the basic package would be 10 users, of which you can start with just 1 or 2, and it goes up to over 2,000. It's based on a monthly subscription usually, and similar to like a mobile phone. So you're paying a fixed amount. It varies between providers. We ourselves provide it at 30 euros per month, and that is up to 10 users or extensions on it. It only has a 30-day contract. Again, it varies with providers. We only request a 30-day contract. We have confidence in it and it works, but you're not tied into a 12 or 18-month contract. You must also port your phone number, which means if you're porting a number, you would normally be moving, say, if you're with Vodafone and you move to Aircel, or if you're with Imagine and you moved to Vodafone, or whatever the case may be, you are just moving the number to another provider. So the main difference is that when you port the number, your landline then goes dead. So your number only exists on the internet. One of the things about porting that number is it must be out of contract. If not, you will have to buy your way out of the contract. And that really can be cost prohibitive sometimes. The advantages of it are, obviously, once you port the number and that, if you had, going back to the previous example, you had 2 ISDNs. An ISDN line rental is €32 a month. So in the example we referred to, you'd be saving €64 a month plus VAT just on line rental. You cannot connect existing landlines to it. So if you have an ISDN in your office or a regular line, you cannot just plug it into this, not like a traditional system. The number must be ported. One of the major advantages of the VoIP and hosted system is that if you have a phone on your desk and your extension 123, you can also have the app on your mobile phone. That's also extension 123. And similarly, you can have it on your tablet or your PC. And again, it's the same extension 123. So if you're leaving your main office and you're out and about, you can take up your mobile phone and you can receive calls on it and make calls on it. In my own case, I might be out on the lake fishing tomorrow, but I can still pick up my phone, open up the app, ring a customer, and I will still show our landline number. And they are oblivious to the fact that I'm out in the middle of a lake somewhere.
Well, that would work very well, Colin, for remote working for staff.
Yes, it does, because it means that a staff member can be working from home, and when they make a call, they're shown their main advertised office number. And similarly, if a member of staff is out and about around the country, again, they can use the app on their mobile. They're not showing their own, it could be their private mobile number. So they're only showing the office number, and obviously then they're contactable from it. You have all the features on hosted systems that you will have with a traditional system. They're both like for like as such. So you can have your voicemail to email. So somebody sends you a voicemail, it's emailed out to you. Auto attendant, which would be, press 1 for this and 2 for that, and so on and so forth. They'll do integration with certain CRMs or customer relationship management systems, and also case management systems. But that is usually looked at on a case-by-case basis, because it will depend on the integration between one and the other. Call recording is also available on it and can actually work out much cheaper on the hosted, because with usually a landline or on-site system, you are buying a server or PC that's recording all your incoming and outgoing lines. And it can be quite expensive, and it's fully encrypted. But with the hosted, you can turn around and say, well, I only need call recording for a period of 6 months or for a year. So you're only paying for the service as you use it. And if you choose not to use it afterwards, fine, then you cease using that particular service. You're not paying out on a large amount of money on a standalone piece of equipment just to record calls.
Is there a call cost benefit as well?
Yes. Normally with the hosted, you will find that all calls to landlines in Ireland, the UK, and Northern Ireland are free. They're all built in. Calls to America, Canada, Asia, and so forth are extremely cheap. But in saying that, calls to mobiles are charged usually at about 14 cents a minute. And it's important to look at previous bills and see what kind of spend have you got on calls to mobiles. So look at your bill, look at how many minutes of calls you've made to mobiles, and take an average over a couple of months, and then work out how many minutes you're using, and then try and then, as they say, do the maths on it and see, is this going to work for you? Because do bear in mind that in a lot of businesses now, over 85% of calls are to mobiles. So it's important to look at that and make sure then that that you're not going to get a surprise with the cost of your mobiles. Now, you can get bundles like every other system out there. So if you decide that you need 200 minutes, 2000 minutes, yes, you can buy a particular or appropriate bundle that suits you best.
And just a query on the contract, for the line contract, does that have to be out of contract, as you said, but how long is a contract typically?
It depends on the provider. With Vodafone and Air and others, they seem to be working on the basis of a minimum of 12-month contract. And some of them will tie you into a 24-month or 18-month or 24-month contract. With the hosted, we try to do it on a basis that it's 30 days. So if you have, if a person decides to go for a hosted system and says, right, what do I need to get? You just need to get your mobile, you need to get, sorry, the phones on the desks, IP phones. That's it. Once you buy them, they work. If at any stage in the future you choose to go to a different voice over IP or host provider, those phones will also work with them. So you're not stuck with a piece of equipment that will not work with anything else. All the IP phones that most of the telecoms industries use are all what are known as SIP. And they are and will generically work with all systems.
Well, what happens if I just want to stay with my current system? I don't want to move to a hosted system.
It's not a problem.
Do I lose a whole lot of functionality, or?
No, you don't, because the current systems that are out there, the on-site system or traditional PBX, they have have come to the stage now where they have all the features that I already mentioned, the voicemail, call recording and everything else. But you're able to continue to use your traditional ISDN lines. But if you, for example, wanted to use a VoIP service as well, for example, you're located in Dublin, but you wanted to have a Cork number. It might only be a virtual office number or a virtual Galway number or a virtual London number. The traditional PBXs can also do that. So you get a London number, you get a Cork number, as I said, it's logged in or registered on the phone system. And then if anybody rings that number, it rings in and the person answers it accordingly. Good morning, this is ABC London or whatever the case may be. And so you have the ability to be able to have and use your existing landlines and retain them, but also use the VoIP features as well. Now, with the traditional system, if you didn't want to use that VoIP service, the traditional system can work without broadband because it's not required, or maybe it's a case of it's not available or it's not fit for purpose, the broadband there. So yes, it can still do that. If there is good broadband, currently we are now tier 1 partners with Alcatel-Lucent, and they have come up with a very interesting solution where they've actually bridged the traditional PBX with the hosted system as well, so that if you're making calls from the office, it is as normal, but you also have the app on your phone. You also have the soft phone or app on your tablet or laptop. They are using a application called Rainbow. And it's very, very similar to what we're using now, the Zoom. So you're able to make video calls, you're able to have conference group calls and conversations and bubbles and messages and so on and so forth. So it's a very interesting platform that they're using at present.
Is there any security considerations people need to consider using VoIP?
Yes. If you're using a VoIP or a hosted system, it's important that your firewall is locked down. So your service will be coming from a particular VoIP provider, and your firewall, thus your IT company, should be able then to lock down your firewall so that it will only accept calls from that particular provider, and that will then protect you from hacking. Speaking of hacking, one of the biggest problems is passwords. Voicemail passwords specifically, where people use 1234 or 0000. And that is the weakest way to use it, and it is the most common cause of security breaches. So even now, if you're not going to do anything else out of this, look at your passwords. If they're 0000, 1234, change them. It's really important to do so.
Listen, Colin, we're coming up near to the end, so there's a couple of questions there, if you don't mind just taking. Absolutely. So can you not use your own mobile for mobile calls and use VoIP for landlines?
Yes, of course you can.
There's a cost benefit to that, really. That's the main point there.
Yeah, you're using maybe the bundle with your mobile phone. So therefore, it's free calls. That's fine if you have no problem advertising your number, but if it's a case that you've got a private number, then just use the app.
Yeah. Is there a minimum recommended upload and download speed requirement?
It is case dependent. I would kind of use a rule of thumb of try and use 10 meg down and 5 meg up, just as a rule of thumb. But you really need to look at the amount of users in the office, what's being used, and do it on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, and just going back to the costing, I know there's a true cost, and I suppose when selecting a new system, you need to be thinking about what sort of bells and whistles you want, or what are you going to use, what are you not going to use. But just the point around Microsoft licenses and Zoom licenses, there's a hidden cost there nearly.
Yeah, normally we'll say with the Microsoft Teams and that, you're going to have to get the license for Microsoft 365 first. Then you have to get another license then for the Microsoft Teams, and then you have to then try and port a number or get a virtual number off them, and then you're paying another license for that. And then you have the cost of the calls, which are considerably more. So you really need to look at what the end cost is going to be, because it's not just I have Word and Excel on my computer I can use, and I have downloaded Microsoft Teams for free. I can do this at a low cost. Unfortunately, it's not that simple.
A quick question: what happens if broadband goes down? Is that the end of my phone system?
No, because if, as I said, if you've got the app on your mobile, then you're just using the 3G, 4G, 5G on your mobile phone, so you're still able to receive calls and make calls. So you're still able to operate from that. Failing that, you still can do contact the provider and say, look, our broadband is down. Can you forward the calls to, or divert the calls to, another number?
Listen, a quick question: if anybody wants to get in touch with you, you can either get in touch with you through myself or at CDC Telecom .com, or what's the support email?
If anybody has any queries, just email us at support@cdctelecom.ie. I will be giving Justin contact details and mobile number. And if you just want to pick up the phone and just have a query or want to discuss something, fine, by all means.
All right, so we're just coming to the end there. I think we missed the last question. If we can, we'll go back to it, but briefly. But next week, we've got cybersecurity technology tools for protecting your office, and then the week after that, why dignity matters. Listen, Colin, you've been a great sport with us today. Thanks for answering all your questions. It's been really helpful. It was just before we go there, Virginia has a question there. Her phone number is tied into another firm working from the same office. Can she avail of VoIP, or how could you buy yourself out? Is that a very particular question, and maybe she needs to send it?
It's probably better that she sends it, but the short version is she's probably using what's known as a DDI, a direct dial number. There are ways of doing it, but we need both parties to agree on it. And if she pops me a quick email, or maybe even just calls me on the landline or mobile, I'll be able to ask whatever pertinent questions, and I'll be able to come up with a solution for her.
Listen, thank you very much, Colin. Thanks
You're
everyone
very
for joining us today. Hopefully we'll see you next week when we're talking about more cybersecurity. Slán.